Richard Fox is head of Middle East and South Africa ratings at Fitch, and he joins me now. Thank you for joining us. We've heard this morning that the Interior Minister has ordered police back out onto the streets. The Egyptian bourse and banks are shut. On Friday, you decided this was a negative outlook. Things have got a lot worse since then. Are you still feeling comfortable with that, or how much more does it take before you downgrade?
Yes, I mean, when we put the rating on negative outlook, we realised that... I think the key thing is that we didn't think it was going to be as rapidly moving a situation as in Tunisia. We didn't expect President Mubarak to be getting on an aeroplane.
Right.
So we think this is a more long drawn-out
and is that still your opinion, that you don't think that Mubarak is going to be leaving anytime soon?
I don't think so. I think the key thing is he going to announce that he's not standing for the elections in September? I mean, there is an election process in Egypt in September.
Indeed, and many people would think that that's a very long way away, and the chance of him still being around by then is
yes,
not
I mean, obviously,
so
there is a question as to whether things are going to be accelerated, but I think, you know, there is a process, and I think the question is, you know, what the protesters are demanding. I mean, how far are the authorities going to be prepared to move in that direction?
Now, in terms of the macroeconomic outlook for Egypt, do you expect that to be affected by this? I mean, it's such a fluid situation, it's very difficult to say, because we really don't know what the outcome's going to be.
Exactly. I mean, yes, it will be affected. How badly will depend how long the violence goes on for, and whether it gets any worse. I mean, you know, key assets like the Suez Canal is still operating, tourists are still going to the Red Sea resorts. I mean, the biggest market for Egypt is Russia. Russia have quite a lot of problems of their own, so it's not clear that they will be dissuaded from going to the sun. But obviously, you know, as time goes on and the instability continues, the chances are the economy suffers more. What we're waiting to see is the economic and political reforms which were promised over the weekend. Obviously, there may be some sweeteners announced in the budget on the subsidy side and on the wages side. I don't think that's going to placate the protesters, but I mean, that's, you know, one issue we're going to be looking at. But the economy has proved to be quite resilient in the past to political shocks.
We have one of the reasons, of course, the protesters are on the street. You know, it's an economic reason. There's very high youth unemployment, although unemployment overall has been coming down, and also food prices are very high. Those are two issues that are of great concern, of course, to people, particularly the less well-off people in Egypt.
Yes, ironically, the Egyptian economy hadn't been doing too badly. I mean, the sort of the rule of thumb is they need to grow by 6% to make inroads into unemployment, and they actually have been getting that. The global recession had knocked it back a bit, but they were looking to see 6% growth this year. But the problem has been lack of trickle down, and there was certainly more to do on the structural side. And I think, you know, the regime was holding back the reformers. The reforming team would actually have liked to have moved faster, but President Mubarak was always very cautious.
Are you at the stage now where you're looking at groups like the Muslim Brotherhood and Mohammed al-Baradei as potential leaders, and what they would be doing with the economy in the future?
I think it's very difficult to know what... I think the key question, first of all, is how open the next elections are going to be. You know, if you had free and fair elections in Egypt, you know, with the Muslim Brotherhood allowed to stand, there are clearly competing centres of power in Egypt. I don't think any of the people who are on the streets now, the Muslim Brotherhood, the NDP, I don't think any of them on their own are going to get a majority. There's clearly competition out there, but it's been suppressed up to now.
Indeed. And just looking elsewhere outside of Egypt, after the events in Tunisia, there was concern that this was going to be the touch paper that would light the Middle East in the kind of 1989 style from Europe. When we look around at other countries, there have been very small protests in Jordan and Libya, and not wishing to talk this up, but I mean, are you looking elsewhere at this stage?
I mean, I think one thing we've learned from Tunisia is that we can all be surprised. So I wouldn't rule anything out, to be honest. And we're living in, you know, a global media age where clearly that's why Egypt has been affected by events in Tunisia. So clearly it could spread. Personally, yes, I wouldn't. I mean, we don't think the regimes in Libya and Morocco, which are in North Africa, are likely to be threatened. But clearly, I think regimes throughout the Middle East are going to be thinking, you know, what they have got to do to allow their populations to have more freedom of expression, basically.
Richard Fox, thank you very much indeed for joining us.